what the hell in your mind is wrong with the Phillies right now that they can't, and they've done this before, right? Like we've seen this before. There was a 26 inning drought last year, if you recall, when they were shut out by the Mets and Astros over the course of 3 games. It was a 26 inning spread over 3 games. So we've seen it before, and then they came out of that and they beat the Braves the next game by scoring 13, right? So like they do this, but what is this? Something just feels different this time around than maybe in the years past.
It's just because people have seen it so much. That's really all it is. It's still a small sample. Like, it's 20 innings. There's still 6-6. It's April. Now that's not me defending the offense, because it's just simply not good enough, and probably won't be at the end of the day. But it's performing much lower than it even is expected to perform. Their expected stats are still better than what they're putting up. So more than anything, it's a small sample. There are some things that individuals can be tweaking to better themselves, but it's April. It's early April. Like it's April 10th now. So to expect them to be world beaters, to expect anybody to be world beaters at this point is not fair.
Right. And if you look around the league, you'll see there are a lot of superstar players that are off the slow starts, right? Like it is a thing.
Normal.
Yeah, it does happen. And I'm with you with the way you're looking at it very holistically from the small sample size. But is there a bigger picture problem here that maybe is not, even once they do start hitting a little bit, is there a bigger picture problem that's like, well, it's just not good enough, and they once again missed the boat on rectifying something that needed to be rectified?
For sure. I mean, the offense has, I know people like to talk about like different pieces that have been issues over each specific postseason run. The consistent thread is the offense will just go cold, and that's the end. No matter how good the pitching staff is, because still, I think people around baseball also believe this, that the Phillies have, if not the best, one of the top 3 pitching staffs overall, including bullpen, in the league, and they can win with that. But they can't win if their offense isn't good enough. And they have 2 guys and a couple of decent bats, and that's it. And that's not an effective offense in Major League Baseball. That, especially when it comes to the playoffs, which is so far away, we can't even really talk about right now. But they have an issue where their lineup is not deep in the slightest. You can have a stretch of 5 guys where you're like, they're not going to get a hit. Like, you can be confident, especially if a pitcher's pitching well against them. You're like, there's a good chance that they don't get another base runner for 3 innings. That's the problem with this lineup, is that there's not a lot of deep, it's not very deep, and they don't have enough variety really in that lineup. Adelise has been a little bit of, I don't want to say a revelation, but he's, a right-handed bat that shows potential to provide that difference in the lineup, but he's not going to be like the piece that fixes everything.
I look at this lineup and what it's been so far, and 2 things that really stand out to me. The first is they can't hit left-handed pitching, and here's the funny thing is like we kept wondering last year, right? Teams kept throwing left-handed pitchers at the Phillies, and Schwarber and Harper hit them, right? And usually, when you look at it, you sit there and go, okay, well, they're your 2 best players. They're the guys that that teams are going to try to neutralize, but they kept hitting them all season long, and we kept saying, well, why are they still throwing left-handed pitchers if Schwarber and Harper are hitting lefties, right? Like, why would you do that? And it turns out it's not about Schwarber and Harper, but it's about the rest of the lineup that can't hit lefties.
Well, it's a little bit. I still think it's a little bit of both. Like,
okay.
Sure, Schwarber and Harper are. I'm not going to use the word elite here, but they're great hitters, so they're going to hit no matter who pitches. But the matchups, and if you look at their career numbers, it's still true. They are a little bit worse against lefties. Now, they're still going to hit them and still going to produce against lefties, but those are the 2 guys that you're worrying about in that lineup when you're facing the Phillies. That's it. You're not worried about, even if Trey's hitting well, you're not worrying about Trey Turner because he doesn't have the MVP caliber bat we thought he might have when he got signed in 23. He doesn't have that extra pop. He doesn't have that extra level he can push his offensive game towards. So they're not as worried if they give Trey a favorable matchup because Yes, the rest of the lineup can't really hit lefties, which is the importance of, I guess, adding Adelise, because he's a right-handed bat that in theory could hit lefties. But if you can neutralize a little bit what Schwarber and Harper can do, that's going to mean the world of difference, because you'd rather have to be facing guys that have, and I don't know the exact numbers on it, guys that have closer to an 800 OPS against lefties than guys that have about 1,000 OPS against righties. That's because everyone else, it doesn't matter. Like there's only two you're still concerned about, and even if they're hitting them, they're not going to hit them at the rate that they hit right-handed pitching.
Yeah, and that's why they're doing it. It's funny, David Waitman weighs in. He says they're hitting 159 against lefties. Only the Yankees, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, are worse at 122 than the Phillies right now. And it's been a big problem. And, we looked at you look at these, we talked about the platoons that they were going to use, right? Edmundo Sosa was going to play against lefties. Otto Kemp was going to play against lefties. Both those guys killed lefties last year. Sosa more so because he had more opportunity, but even in a smaller sample size, but it's still a significant one. Otto Kemp hit lefties pretty well last year. Neither have gotten off to great starts. I know Sosa had the one big hit in the one game against, was that last weekend in Colorado? I forget what game that was. But he had the one big hit. Otto Kemp has looked awful so far, both at the plate and in the field, especially. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But like I look at Garcia, and I think I'm okay with the start that he's had. He's hit the ball hard. He's not chasing as much as he did in Texas. So he's swinging at more pitches in zone. So even though maybe the numbers aren't eye-popping, they're decent, and I think that he'll be fine. It's the rest of the lineup against left-handers that's just – and I'm not sure – it's just not been good, and I'm not sure that there's a solution there. Like, I'm not sure that they're going to get significantly better. Will they improve a little bit? Yeah, probably. They're not going to hit 159 against left-handed pitching all season long. But how much better are they going to get? And is it going to be enough? And that's where I'm like, I don't know.
I think it starts with approach with this team. And you can look at the underlying statistics for overall for a lot of these hitters further down the lineup and look at how they're approaching their at-bats. And that's really the big thing. Now, obviously, approach isn't going to really change how good you are versus a platoon split. But if you have the right approach, you will get hits. You will get value no matter who you're facing. And you have so many of these guys that are swinging down on the ball effectively. They're hitting an absurd amount of ground balls, which, to be fair, if you hit a ground ball the opposite way, that's fine. No one hits the opposite way on this team. No one. No one's opposite field numbers are any good because they're in front of everything. There's so many pulled ground balls on this team that there has to be an approach change. And because that's the thing. Like, their strikeout rate against lefties isn't crazy high. I'm sure it's higher, but it's not crazy high. The only guy that strikes out a ton against lefties is Brandon Marsh because he just can't hit lefties. But other than him, their strikeout rates are relatively normal across the board, and they're just getting bad contact against lefties because they're anxious or something's going on at the plate. They're in their head because they've been here for all these years. Why can't they figure this out? And they just won't fix it. The change is an approach. They need to alter how they're swinging at the ball. They need to alter what pitches selection they're having, which pitches they're swinging at. It's okay to strike out more as long as you're making good contact in the other at bats. But there's not a lot of good contact on this team. You look at their Baseball Savant page and up and down. Besides Schwarber, you got really bad barrel rates so far. I mean, I know it's only a small sample, but it means something because if you also look at their careers, their average exit velos, most of them are way down, and it's just what is going on? Why are they having this terrible approach at the plate? And I think that's the key. If they have a better approach at the plate, if they're making better swing decisions, doesn't matter what the platoon is, you're going to catch some balls. But they're not. They're having bad approaches, so the platoons are really going to hurt when you have a bad approach at the plate.
Okay, and here's the other thing that I have taken notice. I said that there were two things. One, that can't hit lefties. Here's the other one. So they've played 4 series so far: the Texas Rangers, the Washington Nationals, the Colorado Rockies, and the San Francisco Giants. In those 12 games, what do you think is the common? I'm going to ask a question. What do you think is the common thread in those 12 games?
From an offensive standpoint?
Well, maybe I'm asking the question wrong. I'll just come out and say it. Other than maybe Nate Eovaldi on opening day.
Oh, pitching. Okay.
Yeah. Who have they faced?
Yeah.
Like they haven't. It's not like they've faced some really great pitching here. They haven't really faced a top. They got away. They didn't have to face Logan Webb against the Giants, and they still lost the series. You know, they made Robbie Ray look like he was, 2021 Robbie Ray or whatever year was he won the Cy Young.
You got it.
It was 21. Yeah. So like, other than that, like, who have they faced? And that's the thing that's perplexing to me. They've been shut down by, I don't want to ever say bad pitchers. These are major league pitchers, but it's mediocre. It's mediocre pitching. And so you sit there and say to yourself, what's going to happen when they face like top level pitching?
Yeah.
What's that going to be like? It's going to be worse.
That's really where the analytics of it all are going to really hurt them, because I mean, I know we talked about platoon there, but if you have a bad approach against a good pitcher, they're going to beat it over your head. Like, right. You're going to be in bad shapes. And I don't want to, I normally harp on like lineup construction because I don't think it's talked about enough, but I don't, there's bigger issues at play here, but I think that could help. Switching up the lineup for once in a while. Like, they get so used to trying to put these guys in these spots, and like Alec Bohm batting 4, Bryce Harper hitting 3. Like, you gotta switch it up to try to do something, to try to like send a message in some capacity.
Well, I think, and I'm glad you brought this up because I think it's going to happen today. Now, the Phillies lineup will not be announced until about almost 3:00 this afternoon. But I think what you're going to see today, if I'm expecting this, is Garcia is going to hit 4, Marsh is going to hit 5, Bohm 6, Stott 7. I think that's the switch that you're going to see today. Whether that's the right switch or not, ultimately we'll find out. But I think that's the change. I don't think he's going to touch the top of the lineup. And to be fair to the top of the lineup, they weren't necessarily the big problem in this, on this road trip. Like, combined, they actually were decent on the road trip. I believe, I'm going to look this up real quick, but I believe Turner, Schwarber, and Harper on the road trip were combined 302, 436, 508 for a 944 OPS on the road trip in Colorado and San Francisco. So it's not like they were terrible. So I think that you're looking at the middle of the lineup and saying something needs to be fixed there. So I think that's the change that they're going to make.